Okay, I've been putting this off for far too long. It's finally time to do it. Let's get rid of this terrible fan. So, couple things that I'm doing here is got this fan. Now, this is in a basement bathroom, and you can see it's a full bathroom. Now, for whatever reason, this home was built with a lot of great parts. They just went cheap on the fans. This is probably the worst fan you can buy. It only moves 50 CFM and it's rated at 4 sones. So it's quite loud and it doesn't do a very good job. Not to mention, there's no light on this either. And you can see it's pretty dark over there in the shower. So what I want to do is update this with a much quieter version, one that moves more air and also one that has a light. So this is going to present a few challenges. The new one's going to be bigger. It's also going to have a light, and we are working in a basement again, so we have no attic to go up and disconnect the old one, or this existing one here. So what we're going to have to do is a little ingenuity, but we will get this thing out. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Okay, before we get into it, let me show you what I bought to replace that existing fan. Found this Brown HD80L, which is going to come in at 2.5 zones, so we're going to get about half the noise, and we're going to get a boost in CFM by 30. This is an 80 rating. But most of all, this has a light, and that's really going to help us out. This fan is a bit bigger than the existing fan. That's okay, we'll just make a few cuts. But before we do any of that, I want to give you a upper level view of that existing fan and how that's mounted. Okay, as you can see, we've got joist construction, and we have our old fan mounted over there. Now I've mounted my phone to a selfie stick, so this is helping me a lot. But as you can see, on that tab right there, you can see a staple, and that's what's holding that existing fan on. So what we're going to have to do is remove the fan motor from that existing fan, and then hopefully just pry that thing up and work that staple out, because there's no way I'm fitting in between these beams here, and you'd be sitting right on drywall, so that's a non-starter to begin with. I also want to mention we are going to have to do a bit of structural modifications here and add some framing in between these joists. The new fan is a bit heavier, and I would like to mount at least 2 sides of the fan box to some structural component. So stay tuned for that. And as always, make sure you turn off your breakers. Okay, power is off, but it's still a good idea to hook up some leads and verify that power is off, or if you have a different type of tool in order to verify a current, absolutely do that first before you start touching those wires. I've brought in a light in order for me to see. Like I said, this is a basement bathroom, so we don't have much light, so we're going to need a little bit of help there. But anyway, we're going to take this cover off and get to it. Okay, first thing, very simple. All you need to do is pull down this cover. And you can see it's attached by these springs right here. We'll just push those together. One comes out there. Push the other one together. Comes out there, just like that. Okay, next step, let's unplug the current electrical connection here. It's just a simple plug. And now, like I said before, we've got to work this fan out in order to kind of lift up on this a little bit easier and get better access. So I'm going to try to pry this out with a screwdriver. Looks like it'll just pop out for me. And I don't care if I damage this case. We are not reusing this. And here it comes. And there we are. There's our fan, popped right out. Next, let's work on getting the remainder of this out, specifically this electrical right here, which again, I can just use my screwdriver and pop this out. We're going to need to disconnect the electrical. There's my wires. And remember, we verified that this is off, but I am going to get some leads and double check and make sure that these are not live. Okay, I took some of the wiring nuts and did hook up leads, and the power is in fact off. If you have a question about what color wire does what, typically your black is hot your white is neutral and the green is going to a ground. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. So we're going to pull this wire nut off, and I already removed those two. And we can just take these wires off, black, green ground, and then our switch is out. Okay, got the staples out. Now we'll just need to remove the tubing and also get the electrical wires laced through. Okay, now it's just a matter of disconnecting this ducting here, and we'll just take off the old tape. So just try to find where the end of it is and just remove it. Here's our duct. Actually, we'll need to take this tape off right here, and that'll disconnect from our fan box. There we go. All right, got it. I'll set that aside. Now we got to work the box down and lace the electrical through. So let's. Actually, what we'll need to do first, you can see up the electrical is connected with this crimp right here. So we'll just loosen these two screws. Now we can pull the electrical out, and we'll be able to get the rest and get the box down. Just loosening this up, and we will keep this piece, this crimp connector right here. Not sure the technical name of it, but we will keep it and reuse it on the new box. Okay, I got the wiring removed, so now all I need to do is work this down through the opening here. Okay, the old housing is out, everything is out, so now all we have to do is put the new one in. Let's do it. Okay, this is the connector I was talking about. I called it a crimp connector, but make sure you remove this from your old unit, because you can reuse this. There it is, those two pieces. Keep in mind, your cuts don't have to be perfect. As you can see, this was kind of a hack job, whoever installed this fan in the first place. But what I'm going to do is follow my eye joist here and just put the template right alongside of that and the bottom side of this, which I'm guessing I'm going to have to straighten out a little bit. But if we just do something close, we will be just fine. Okay, let's get started on cutting. As you can see, I did take some different measurements and modified these lines. So make sure you're double checking your measurements just to make sure those are right. You don't want to end up cutting away material that you then have to patch. One thing you will need is a drywall saw, so you can pick one of these up for $2 or $3 at your big box stores. Anyway, let's get to cutting. Okay, that's it. There's our hole. I'll go back and double check this and modify it if I need to. But for now, that's good. As you can see, I got the box up into our opening. I did have to trim off a little more, but not too much. So the measurements were pretty good. So the next step is mounting the box to the structural part of the eye joist. Now what you can see is we've got this surface right here we can mount to, but our tabs are a bit tall. They're going to fall somewhere around this area. So what we have to do is put in a filler board in order to have this tab to mount. So let me take you to the other view and we'll look at it from there. Here's a better view of what I'm referring to. As you can see, the tabs on our fan box are a little bit higher than the part of the wood where we would mount it to. So what we need to do is kind of fill in the gaps between the eye joist. So what I did was take a 2x6 and cut that down to 1 inch, and we'll basically just run it along this board and attach it to the eye joist. Now I'm going to do this on both sides of the eye joist and then run another piece of wood perpendicular to the eye joist here. What that's going to allow me to do is have another mounting surface for the fan box to attach to. Okay, now just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you what this perpendicular board is going to look like. I'm not going to attach it though right now. But basically, those two boards will then attach. I'll attach this board to these parallel boards, and we'll have nice solid surface to mount the fan box to. As you can see, I took the fan back out of the ceiling. I just wanted to put it up there to make sure that it fit. It does, so we're all good there. But what we have to do now is remove this plate right here in order to expose the wiring inside the fan box. So what we're going to need to do is take this off. Also, we're going to need to pop out this little tab right here in order to fit the electrical wires through here. Now you might be wondering, why can't I just put them through the back here? Well, if you remember, we have a board that's running perpendicular to those eye joists that'll sit right here, and I think what's going to happen is the cord will interfere with that board and I won't be able to push the fan on, and it'll just cause me some problems. So I'm going to take this out, I'm going to run the wires up, and this should just pop out. There we go. Off. I'll just unscrew this right here. Out she comes. We'll just take these wires. Now we have these out and exposed. Now that our tab is off, all we need to do is install the clamp that was on the original fan. Simple process. There we go, that's attached. Now I'm going to lace the wires that are in the ceiling and put them through here first, and then we're going to move the fan up to that. As you can see, I've installed the wire through our clamp. So the next step is to get the fan back in our opening and hook up the electrical and also the duct work. One thing I also did was install my board right here. You can see the connectors I got these at Menards for 58 cents. But that's how that looks, just hooked up just like this, and we'll be able to have a solid mounting spot here and also right here. Now let's tackle the duct. This piece was connected to my old fan. As you can see, it's a 4-inch to 3-inch reducer. Since this new fan has a 4-inch outlet, I don't need this anymore, so I simply removed it. So all I need to do now is take the fan to duct connector that came with the fan and install it on our duct. Then when I place the fan back up, I will connect it to the fan. Okay, everything fits nicely there. We obviously need to wrap this with some HVAC tape as well. Okay, as you can see, I got it all taped up. I'm going to run one more piece of tape over the insulation to the duct right here as well. That will just give us a little bit more insulation power from that cold outside air or that warm outside air, depending on the season. Okay, now our connection is nice and tight. Let's do a quick test to see if my wiring worked. And there it is. It works. Now that everything's wrapped, I'm going to push it all back into the fan box. Really get a good video of me attaching the ducting to the fan, but trust me, it's on there. Okay, now it's just a matter of dropping the fan box down, and the lip of this is going to come about flush with the drywall. With the fan securely mounted, I'm going to go the extra mile with this and fill in all my gaps with this gaps and crack filler. This is just expansion foam that'll fit nicely in these gaps and really seal up this fan. That's going to allow me to have maximum draw and also prohibit moisture from getting up into the rafters, excuse me. I'm also going to go even farther and put some caulking along these joints right here, again, just to give me a real nice airtight seal. So let's get started on that. Okay, the foam is all hardened, so I can now just trim off this excess. And make sure when you're putting this foam in that you are putting something on the floor to catch any drips that you might have. If this stuff gets on your floor or anywhere else, it's not coming off. So make sure you protect anything under this that you don't want ruined. Okay, it looks like everything's all dry. Again, these steps that I took in the end aren't necessary for your installation, but I did at minimum want to seal these cracks up. Running a bead of caulking along these seams is pretty unnecessary, but I like the idea of decreasing the chance of any vibrations. I've had issues with these fans vibrating in the past, and if you know, it's super annoying to hear that sound, so I like to do whatever I can to kind of diminish the possibilities there. So speaking of that, on my fan shroud, I've taken some double-sided tape and placed it on the contact patches of where this light housing will fix to, and also the back of it where the shroud will touch the ceiling. It'll just give another layer, another kind of a buffer layer for this to sit and not vibrate against the ceiling. So really that's it. That's going to be the install. Just have to plug this stuff in and we're good to go. So let's do that. And you can move this shroud around so you can line it up perfectly with whatever surface is nearest. And there we go. And you can see kind of why it doesn't matter if you make kind of ugly cuts, because it all gets covered up. All right. It's all nice and tight. Just put a light bulb in. And now we'll put our cover on. All set. That's our fan. Okay, it's all done and I'm very happy I did this job. It was at the top of my list as far as improvements go to this bathroom. It really wasn't all that difficult, although there were some frustrating moments that I didn't put on film. And as always, anything on camera always looks a whole lot easier than it actually is when you do it. Remember, you're working on a ceiling, so that means you're lifting your arms up a bunch, you're in awkward positions. So keep that in mind if you attempt to do this fix. I'm really happy with it though, so I'm glad I did it. And if this video helped you, please help me by hitting the subscribe button. None of my videos are monetized, so anything I can do to get to that 1,000 subscriber mark, hopefully you'll help me out with that. So anyway, hit that button, and thanks for watching. Good luck with your repairs.